correct.
We got a feeling this mayor's the one. We want a boss who talks real tough. When we ask too many questions, we want to be told to shut up. Taxing, crime, and financing. We can pay for anything like shopping malls with movie screens and everything but what you need to kids who wanna eat for free. Get a fucking PhD and don't you dare complain to me if you want an opportunity. Someday we are the ones who fall in line. We've been a masochist 1,000 times. We are the ones who fall in line.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Hey, woo! They say they want to level with you.
That's correct.
Like they level public housing and they're leveling schools. You gotta file just to beg for the truth. And if they reject it, then shame on you. Taxing, credit, financing. We can pay for anything like shopping malls with movie screens and everything but what you need to kids who wanna eat for free. Get a fucking PhD and don't you dare complain to me if you want an opportunity. Eventually, we are the ones who fall in line.
That's correct.
We've been the masochists 1,000 times. We are the ones who fall in line.
I won't just turn the car around. I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to kick you out, and I'm going to make you walk home.
We are the ones who fall in line. We've been the masochists 1,000 times. We are the ones who fall in line. Oh, yeah! Hey, woo!
Hey guys, how's it going? Ben, are you there?
I am here. I am here. I am here.
Excellent. Before we get going, I got to turn the air off on in my apartment. I can hear it. So Ben, stall. Tell everybody what's going to happen today.
Well, Maya will be here. Well, she won't literally be here, but Maya will be with us. She'll be talking Chicago politics, budget politics, school politics. I may ask her about the Republican convention day. I don't know if she's going to want to talk about that, but I may ask her about that. And then later in the day, Eddie Armstrong will be here, a former state representative from the great state of Arkansas, one of Dennis's favorite states.
I love it.
And he'll So anyway, I guess that's enough stalling. Can I sing a song?
No, go Razorbacks. You can sing the song of the day in moments here. Your Ben Joravsky show for Tuesday, September 1st. Happy September, everybody. It's just moments away. But before we do this, let's thank the following unions for sponsoring this program. By the way, Ben, nice teamwork, buddy. Unions like the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, they're sponsors, as well as the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. If you're in a union or business and you would love to sponsor the Ben Joravsky Show, we'd love to have you, all right? Send us an email, bennyjshow@gmail.com, BENNY, the letter J, show @gmail.com, and we'll direct you to whoever you need to talk to about that. And, of course, today's Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. All right, we have a song of the day request, Ben.
Oh, okay. All right. Put aside mine for the moment. Hold on. I'm literally putting it aside.
I tell you what, there's a good chance you may not know it. If not, you do yours, all right?
Okay.
All right, our song of the day request comes from Claire. What's going on, Claire? She's listening live at the moment. We thank you so much for doing that. Your song of the day request, Dancing in September.
Oh, that's Earth, Wind, and Fire. Dancing in September. Dancing in September. I think it's just called September, but whatever. I'm going to sing it anyway. September in September. And now I'm just going to go into That's the Way of the World, because it's like a whole medley of Earth, Wind, and Fire hits. Okay.
Yes.
Here we go. And now Sun Goddess. Da 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 da. Now I'm Ramsey Lewis playing the piano. Dee 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 dee.
All right.
Just a whole thing going down there, D.
That was like a tornado.
Yeah.
All right. Claire says not bad. So, hey, you got some approval there.
Wow, man. Thank you, Claire. Thank you. The Blue Mustang is in the mail.
We're not giving you that. The Ben Joravsky Show starts now. It is Tuesday, September 1st, and still live from my apartment in his attic, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, it's the return of our Chicago reader colleague, the one, the only, Maya Dukmasova. And now your host, the one, and based on that intro, yes, the only, Chicago reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Let's Say a Nice Word About Donnie Trump Tuesday. And here's why. Great weekend. Do you have a great... who's kidding? The weekend sucked. Our president's trying to egg on a race war.
And it's
How can it be
Tuesday.
a great weekend. Huh?
And it's Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Monday's just a blur to me anyway, D. But you know what, D? I'm going to calm down. Take a delicious drink of water. Just try to settle my nerves a little bit here. Hold on, D.
Oh, there you go.
Feeling good already. So you know what? Let's just start. D, you have a good weekend?
No.
Okay. I think you had a good weekend. I think you were prowling around like a little tomcat all over town. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. D's beard is getting longer and longer by the day, okay? Looks like Old Man River. Anyway, where was I? I don't even know what Old Man River looks like, but I'll sing the song. Old Man River, he keeps... Come on, D, sing with me.
He keeps that beard really long.
Wow, I give you credit for knowing the song.
I have no clue what the song is.
I'm going to highlight all the good things that happened this weekend before I get to the bad things. A lot of good stuff in sports. Watched a lot of great basketball. Chris Paul last night hit those free throws to win the game. How about Louis Robert of the Chicago White Sox? People think it's Robert, but he calls himself Robert. So let's get it right. He hit the walk-off. I will now do my Harry Carey imitation. All righty, D? Here's the 2-2 fastball. Oh, that's it. Way back, might be, could be. It is. Holy cow.
Oh, non-sports fans, hang in there with us, please.
Just had to do that. Oh, and the other thing, I got a phone. I got a new phone. I didn't tell you this.
You're kidding.
No,
Oh, my God.
It was very traumatic. I still don't know how to use it. Things like as big as an aircraft carrier. It's the hugest thing I've ever seen.
People, so my mind is blown right now. For Ben Joravsky Show devotees, since the beginning of the Ben Joravsky Show, back on See You Later, Ben had an iPhone 5. So this is a huge day here for Ben Joravsky.
I finally got it because the iPhone, the 5 was falling. I needed a new battery, okay? So if we had a system, like a logical system where you could just go buy a battery for your phone, I would have just bought a battery because I was perfectly happy with this baby phone that I have, even though Dennis always goes, you know, Ben, my phone is so much better than yours, so much more sophisticated. And so, but D, they don't sell batteries. So my phone was down to like a half hour. It's gasping for breath. I'm talking to someone on the phone. That's the phone. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get a new one. Have you got a new phone lately, D? It's unbelievable. The stuff they make, the protocol. Apparently, There's people who run the Apple store in Chicago have not been following the Donald Trump convention. They think, the Apple people, that the pandemic's still on. Apparently, they haven't read the news that Donald Trump announced the pandemic's over. I'm glad Apple doesn't pay attention to Donald Trump when it comes to the pandemic. Anyway, I bought the phone. It was very traumatic. I still don't know how it works. I was searching desperately for a millennial to help me put my old data into the new phone. Anyway, got the new phone, so all's well. That was the highlight of my weekend. Now let's get back to the apocalypse. The Republican Party has revealed its true colors, or should I say its true color, and that color is most definitely white. Here's what we've learned over the weekend. This point has been made several times by Republican operatives, Republican talking heads on TV. And yes, the president of the United States is inching forward. He's coming closer. We talked about this with David Ferris. Great interview. Folks, you want to download that interview. It was kind of for a David Ferris interview, a little dark as he reviewed the Republican convention. But I was predicting at the end that Donald Trump was just going to come out with a full-throated endorsement of Kyle Rittenhouse. And we're heading into that area. Of course, Kyle Rittenhouse is the 17-year-old from Antioch. Who went up to Kenosha and killed 2 people, shot them dead. He's being treated by the Republican Party. Their official line is apparently that he's a patriot who left Antioch to travel across the state lines to keep the peace. And he killed the he killed the protesters in an act of defense. So he should be released from jail, not charged with murder, probably given a medal. And someone said he should even run for president. I can't remember which commentator said it, but I saw that over the weekend. Meanwhile, the policeman in Kenosha who shot Jacob Blake 7 times was totally justified because there was a warrant out for his arrest on some charge of 3rd-degree rape. By this explanation, the police should be arresting Trump because he's been charged with rape as well. Eugene Carroll, folks, don't forget. Anyway, the Republican position on all this boils down to this. When it comes to shooting black people, police are always justified. When it comes to white people, they're always justified to shoot anyone. Got it? That's pretty much the Republican take. God, you tell me how that is not a depressing take to have by the major political party, one of the 2 major political parties in our country, the party that controls the Supreme Court, the Senate, and the presidency. And now, D, comes the part of the show where I want to give Donald Trump a little credit for something. Yes, I saw his interview with Laura Ingraham, one of your favorite media personalities.
How'd you know?
Just wanted to see if you were paying attention. Where she was asking him about the shooting in Kenosha and Trump, it was one of those moments where his mind was just kind of rambling. Sometimes his mind just goes on a little trip and you never know where it's going to land. And he said, he made an analogy, and he related police who shoot black people to golfers who choke when they're making a putt. And Ingraham, who proudly wears the MAGA hat, is one of Trump's biggest media defenders. She was a little worried about that immediately. Like in her brain, you could see her on point head going, that won't work because that'll play bad. So she warned Trump about that. It's maybe not a good idea to compare shooting a civilian with a golfer missing a putt. And she said, the media will criticize you. And I had a laugh when I heard that, D. Hey, Laura Ingraham, you're in the media. Oh, I forgot. It reminds me of Lou Holtz's speech at the Republican convention where he blasted the media. Lou, you want to give back all that money you got as a media analysis on TV? It's like all these right-wingers, they'll take the media's money when they want to be on TV and spouting their spout, but then they want to be able to treat the media like a pariah. The media. The media. You're the media! Anyway, as a member of the media, let me say that Trump's choke comment was one of the more, how do I put this, D? Sensitive things he's had to say in the subject. It's kind of hard for me to figure out the exact word, so I'm really struggling with this one. But it suggests that there's sort of like this psychological trigger that motivates the police when they confront a black man to lose restraint and lose control and shoot when they might try another approach. Sort of like when a golfer goes to make a putt and he suddenly starts thinking of all the things that could go wrong if he doesn't hit the putt. And I think, and of course then once he does that, he misses the putt. And I think that's what Donald Trump was trying to get at. And I would have been nice if Ingram had tried to tease it out of him a little more. What exactly do you mean by that, Donald? Although Lord knows where he would go if she did try to tease it out of him. But no, she's sticking to the talking points. Cops are always right. Black people are always wrong. Cops are always right. Black people are always wrong. Unless they're one of the handful of black people who've endorsed Donald Trump, then they're always right. Anyway, now Trump is coming to Kenosha to make peace. He's probably landing as I speak. I have not been following D. I happen to think that this is a really bad idea. I think about the only thing that could be worse than sending Donald Trump to Kenosha to make peace is to send Laura Ingraham there to make peace. So that's what my thoughts are on that. Meanwhile, in the world of Democrats, one of the highlights of my weekend was listening to Steve Buscemi, his endorsement of Joe Biden. I must have listened to this thing 10 times. I sent it to everybody I know, pretty much. I sent it to Dr. D, sent it to my daughters, my wife, my friends. Oh, man, you got to hear this. It was on the Trevor Noah show. So a shout out to the Trevor Noah show, whoever came up with this thing. But Steve, I'm giving Buscemi all the credit because he was a narrator. And now I will do my Mr. Bike imitation. Dennis, just play that clip.
Does anybody else mix up Steve Buscemi with Steve Gutenberg? I do that all the time. Okay, here we go.
America is living in a nightmare. A devastating pandemic, an economy in tatters, a culture lost and adrift.
Guess what, motherfucker?
And overseeing it all, a president who threatens to tear the country apart at its seams. Our nation cries out for a great man of history to lead us out of the darkness. But since we don't have one, let's go with this guy.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Joe Biden, acceptable under the circumstances.
All right, that gets yeah, in short. Oh my goodness. Is this the best we could come up with? D, just play just another 10 seconds. Just let me hear another 10 seconds. I love listening to this thing.
Take it away, Steve Gutenberg.
Pennsylvania, a state in America. Then his family moved to Delaware, another state in America. It's not the most exciting story for a president, but you know what it is? Constitutionally sufficient. After a childhood doing whatever you do in Delaware, Joe went on to attend the University of Delaware and the Syracuse University School of Law, two schools that are near the top of their states geographically. No, they weren't Harvard, but they were fine. I mean, he's going to be able to read an intelligence briefing.
Okay, goes up. I was a little low. But there's nothing wrong with Syracuse. Anyway, I got a big kick out of that. Buscemi's it's Buscemi, Steve Buscemi. And he, as you know, was in the Great Lebowski, right? You remember that movie, D?
The Big Lebowski. Yes, I do.
Yes, the Big Lebowski. Thank you for correcting me. I said corrected. So anyway, the point of it all is that Joe Biden is not a perfect candidate, but he's the only candidate we've got. And by the way, over the weekend, I also watched a speech that Bernie Sanders, the guy I voted for in the primary, gave endorsing Biden one more time. He went out of his way to point out how much he liked Joe on a personal level, but to also say how great their differences are on many policy issues. And he did this for several reasons, in my humble opinion. I will now list those reasons in no particular order. He wanted to show the world, particularly some of his hardcore Bernie supporters, including one that I happen to be looking at right now, that he is not a complete sellout, that he is not discarding everything he stood for just to make sure that Joe Biden wins, and that he is, in fact, setting the stages for a post-election showdown where Bernie, will be joining AOC and other progressives in Congress and the Senate, enforcing, we hope this happens, a President Joe Biden to do the right thing on policy issues, like, just to name one, healthcare. Okay? So he's setting up the ideological differences between Joe and himself to say, you know what? As much as I'm going to be working for Joe right now, I'm going to be pressuring him to do the right thing once he's elected. If he's elected, let's God hope he's elected, because it's the most important thing in the world right now. And the other thing he's doing, this is really clever. He's trying to offset the Republican attack that Joe Biden is merely a captive of the left, that it's like Joe is dangling at the end of the puppet strings, and AOC and the rest of the squad are controlling him. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. Even though there's no evidence whatsoever on any issue that that's the case, doesn't matter. It's all part of the Republican strategy to scare America into voting for Donald Trump, particularly white America. In terms of Black America, they're just going to try to suppress their vote to keep them from showing up to the polls. That's the strategy. So there you go. Bernie Sanders criticizing Biden to offset that. Not that it's going to work. Bernie, you could blast Joe Biden from now until November, and the Republicans are still going to say, he is a captive of the left. Look out, be scared, be very scared. It's like a wheel within a wheel, a political game of chess that both sides are playing. Folks, I have to tell you, I never wanted a politician to win so much as I want Joe Biden to win in this 2020 presidential election. Okay, wait a minute. Harold Washington, 1983 against Bernie Eppton. Yes, it was probably a tie. But in regards to Joe Biden, I'm going to have to quote J.B. Pritzker. He's not a perfect person. We got a great show today, everybody. Maya Dukmasova will be here. She's all fired up, ready to talk all the political issues of the day, including her article on Chicago Public Schools and freedom of information. Get your pencils, get your paper out, take notes. You want to learn how the FOIA law is used as a device to keep you from learning things about what your government is up to? Take careful notes, because Maya's going to lay it all out. But before we do that, the young man from Alton, the man that Maya calls Dr. Doobie, with the news.
I'm not a perfect person.
Sorry about that. Should have done that a little earlier. You know what I mean?
Oh, well. It's good. It's all good. Better late than never.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Name's Dennis, not Dr. Doobie. Let's find out what's happening in Chicago and or Illinois this week. Ben, our Chicago mayor, had a recent change of heart. More on New Leaf Lorien moments. But first, surprise, we have a breaking story involving political corruption in the state of Illinois. Also, surprised, no one's surprised. Ex-Cook County Commissioner Jeff Tobolsky pleaded guilty today in federal court in Chicago to committing extortion and filing a false tax return. Tobolsky admitted to taking part in an extortion scheme involving a McCook police officer, a restaurant owner, and Tobolsky's role as McCook Liquor Commissioner, where he also served as mayor. Prosecutors said he also engaged in other acts of extortion and bribery as a Cook County commissioner, and he is cooperating with investigators, and this is according to his plea agreement.
All right. Man, there is so much corruption and scandal coming out. It's like that little corner of town. They used to talk about this all the time when we were back in the studio. But folks, as much as I've spent my life condemning Democrats for their corrupt ways in Chicago and Cook County, as much as I have been known to rant and rail against the Democratic machine, as many columns as I have written in the 80s and the 90s and the O's denouncing all powerful Democrats, I'm not going to join the chorus, D. No. I'm officially not joining the chorus to sing guilty, 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 guilty. That's the chorus singing guilty. I was trying to do the hallelujah chorus, but I couldn't think of how it goes. Hallelujah. There you go. Guilty, guilty. Nope, not going to do it. Sorry, D. Not going to do it till the Republicans denounce Trump. Now, I know what you're thinking, Dennis. Ben, come on. That's not right. You should always take the right stand. You should do it because it's right, not just, you shouldn't do it because other people don't do it.
Well, actually, I was thinking in about 30 minutes you'll forget about it and do it anyway.
Actually, what I just said was like a Joe Biden thing. I started to say something, and then I forgot where I was going, and I don't know where I ended up. It's like, you shouldn't do it because it's the right thing. You should do it because it's the wrong thing. Huh? What? Play the record player.
Play the
Listen to
radio.
what-
Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone, make sure the kids hear words.
I love Joe Biden, and I plan to vote for him as many times as I want. Uh-oh, here comes Trump. Voter fraud. Anyway, where was I? So, yeah, they're corrupt. Yeah, they're sleazy. Yeah, they practice transactional politics. Yes, it's been going on forever. But I am not joining the chorus until I hear some Republicans denounce Donald John Trump and his corruption. Tribune, that's you. I want to see editorials on my desk tomorrow denouncing Donald John Trump. Come on out from under the desk, John Cass. I'm scared. I got my MAGA hat on. Sorry, D. Not gonna do it. Okay? I'm sorry. All these Republicans, whenever Joe Biden does anything wrong, they denounce him. This is terrible. This is a disgrace. This is a violation of all ethical standards. But not one word about Donald Trump. So, D, not going to do it. Sorry. You can't make me do it. You can't. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to sit here with my hands folded and look at the screen and say, not going to do it. Yes, they're corrupt, but I'm not going to join the chorus.
Well, you're turning a new leaf, too. In all, Tobolsky admitted to taking more than $250,000 in bribes and extortion payments, either as a county commissioner or as mayor, including one instance where he took part in shaking down a McCook restaurant owner who wanted to hold events with alcohol. Oh, he must have read the old Ed Burke playbook, huh, Ben?
Can I break from what I said to denounce Ed Burke?
No.
I can't denounce Ed
No.
Burke.
You think he's awesome, right? According to what you just said.
Can I contradict what I just said already? I mean, I know you said a half hour. I'm already down to 2 minutes. God bleep those Democrats. God bleep you. I devoted my best years to your party. I voted for you year after year after year, and you're so sleazy.
Remember, it was Ed Burke who shook down a Burger King in his ward. Good guy.
Yeah. And he's still the alderman. He cast a vote in the city council just last week because the enlightened citizens of the 14th ward go, I think we'll re-elect him. Sorry, D.
Now,
I wasn't going to join the chorus.
I know.
But old habits are hard to break. I feel myself. I'm going to Danny Malopoulos country. Damn those Democrats. Sorry.
I'm just going to help you out and continue along here, all right?
Go ahead.
Tobolsky did not attend court in person due to the pandemic, but he appeared via a video feed from a conference room at his lawyer's office. So was he wearing pants? No one knows.
Was it Google Meet or Zoom, D? I need to know.
Got a feeling it was Zoom. Everybody loves Zoom.
They love Zoom. Even Tobolsky, I got to say, this Zoom really works. By the way, I want $200 right now. What a crook.
Shout out to Pat Rod on the live stream chat. He says, geez, Ben's sounding like a dying Cub fan, giving his last request.
That's a great song. Steve Goodman. I'm now going to sing it. Oh, do 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 do. I can't actually remember the words.
That was.
Wait, here's the song I was going to sing. Dum 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 bidoo bidum. Whoa 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 whoa. Hey.
Oh boy. For those wondering, no new updates on Madigan Gate. The time utility giants ComEd admitted to arranging jobs, arranging contracts, and arranging payoffs to Democratic Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan and his associates. Well, there is one update. I guess it depends on what your definition of an update is. Democratic State Rep Will Gazzardi has still not called on Madigan to step down and resign. Come on, Gazzardi.
Wait, hold on, D. He's under my desk with John Cass. They're playing cards. And Cass is like, I'll denounce Trump if you denounce Madigan. And wait, here's Gazzardi. How about we just pretend neither of them exist? Oh, good idea. Well, there they are under my desk. What an unusual combination. Will Gazzardi. He's tall, man.
I was going to say, I hope that's a tall desk. I've seen it. Did you get a new desk? Because that desk you have, I don't think Gazzardi would fit under it. Oh, boy. Gazardi's going to have scoliosis or something by the time that's over. All right, moving on. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
What? What's...
Lori Lightfoot quotes, D, what would I do without your Lori Lightfoot quote? Hey, I was kind of depressed when the show began, thinking about Donald Trump going to Kenosha to make peace. God help us all. But you just lifted my spirits with more corruption stories about sleazy Cook County Democrats and Lori Lightfoot quotes.
Oh, you're
I thought
welcome.
you were going to do it. I'll take the car. I'll throw you out.
Well, we'll get there.
Okay, it's my favorite Lori Lightfoot. Go ahead, Dave.
While we were away, Mayor Lightfoot held a Monday press briefing. What did she talk about? Well, let's unpack it all and find out. Right now, in my face, I have two stories from the hardest working woman, scratch that, human, in the Chicago Sun-Times building, Fran the Woman Spielman. The first is all about Mayor Lightfoot's 2021 budget. Mayor Lightfoot on Monday blamed rising coronavirus case levels in Chicago and two rounds of looting for a dramatic increase in the city's budget shortfall to a combined $2 billion for this year and next. The seismic disruption of Chicago's economy is so great, Lightfoot called the 2021 spending plan a, quote, pandemic budget that can be balanced only with replacement revenues from Washington, concessions from city unions, and new revenues that just might include, and homeowners, hold your ears, the dreaded property tax increase. Always threatening with that. Every mayor. But anyway, for weeks after the shutdown, Lightfoot insisted Chicago's diverse economy was well positioned to weather the storm of increased costs and declining revenues tied to the pandemic. On April 7th, the mayor changed her tune, acknowledging a massive shortfall that might require raising taxes. 2 months later, she declared the stay-at-home shutdown of the Chicago economy had blown a $700 million hole in her precariously balanced 2020 budget, and she refused to rule out a property tax increase. Then came Monday's comprehensive financial analysis with its higher shortfall estimates, $800 million for 2020 and $1.2 billion in 2021. Ben, I'll read the quote from Lightfoot, then you weigh in, all right? Oh boy, don't sound too excited. Lightfoot,
I'm just writing my property tax bill. Go ahead, D.
Lightfoot said, quote, our rising case levels have hampered our city's economic recovery. Restaurants, bars, hotels, entertainment venues of all sizes, from small independent clubs to large concerts and tours, conventions and tourism, hotels are still hurting because COVID-19 is still here and on the rise. Also affecting the recovery was looting and damage to our businesses that occurred 3 months ago and again more recently. The damage done was not just about shattered windows and lost inventory. The criminals who broke into stores, helping themselves to someone else's property, shattered hopes and dreams and confidence in Chicago as a place that can sustain lives and livelihoods. Fear begets fear. Go ahead, Ben.
Wait, that was Lori Lightfoot said all that?
Yeah.
That was a riff from Lori?
That was a Lori riff.
All right. Before we go further, let me just make a brief correction. Yes, Fran Spielman is a very hardworking reporter, one of the hardest working reporters I've ever seen. But come on, D. Show some love for Tommy Shuba. That guy's covering every freaking thing, okay? They had him up at Kenosha for crying out loud.
He's getting there. He's almost on Fran status.
Tommy do join Shuba, all right? That, pound for pound, the hardest working man in Chicago journalism. Bet I don't have time to talk right now. I got another story to file. All right, guys. The biggest joke of that was the line about the precariously balanced budget. These are games people play. We've talked about it many times. God, I got to bring Kenny Davis back, D. Kenny Davis, longtime journalist in Chicago, the host of the Kenny Davis Show that was on cable TV, public access TV. It was not called the Kenny Davis Show by anyone but me, but that's what the show is in my mind. Anyway, one of our favorite topics is to talk about the budget games that mayors have played. Really studied as I guess the maestro of the budget game was Richard M. Daley. And they would always say, oh, the budget's balanced. We're fiduciary wizards. And you can thank us right now, Chicago. And, depending on the time of the year, how close they were to an election, depending on how much money they needed. There was a tax hike. They try to limit the tax hike. They have this obsession about limiting the property tax, as Dennis pointed out. So they're not afraid to raise slap a user fee on something like a cable TV or your phone bill, more fines and fees and red light cameras, et cetera, and so forth, anything to avoid the property tax. And then lo and behold, at the end of the year, I guess the budget wasn't balanced and we're going to have to raise taxes more. Listen, there's no doubt about it. The pandemic has slammed all of us hard. So it absolutely has caused problems for Lori Lightfoot in terms of keeping the books even. How much? I don't know. At the risk of sounding tremendously cynical, Dennis, and you're going to be shocked when I say this, and I know you're going to be a little disappointed, I don't really believe everything. How about that? That a mayor tells us when it comes to budgets, nor do I believe everything a governor tells us when it comes to budgets, nor do I believe everything a president tells you when it comes to budget, because it's games they play, people, political games they play to motivate you to do certain things. I will tell you this as a property taxpayer, I don't know how much more property taxes we can afford to pay. Dennis is a renter. And there's a lot of renters out there who, like Dennis, don't realize the impact of the property tax because they've never seen one. They've never had to pay one. But I'm telling you right now, folks, they generally get passed on to you in the form of higher rent. So everybody's going to pay for it one way or another. I think that the ultimate solution in this time is more money from the federal government. And before Darren Bailey and the other Republicans in the state of Illinois go, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Let me remind you that when it came to bailing out the farmers so that they would not be placated, even in the face of Donald Trump's trade war with China, there was plenty of money to be sent their way. The reality is we are in a crisis. And it's funny. Donald Trump and the Republicans love to use Chicago as a piñata to bash for their political purposes. Johnny Canizera, the head of the Fraternal Order of Police, is their local Trump leader in this, the most prominent voice in this venture, always bashing the Democrats. They're doing that. That's how they're going to win re-election if they win re-election, by saying those Democrats can't do this, that, anything. Well, why don't you help us out? Send us some money. And I know what you're going to say, D. I can see that mind of yours racing. I can see it. Oh, Ben, how could they give money to Democrats when Jeff Tobolewski, or whatever his name is, just pleaded guilty? Oh, like Republicans don't plead guilty all the time, huh, D? Well, you don't have anything to say about that, do you? Dennis wasn't going to say any of this, ladies and gentlemen. Just using him as a device. So this is my way of saying that Lori Lightfoot, there's going to be some juggling here, folks. There's going to be some pretending that the budget is balanced when it's not really balanced. You're going to find a whole bunch of money in the TIF fund to move it. You watch that. They go, oh, look what we found. Hey, funny, I didn't know that the hundreds of millions of dollars are just sitting there. And they're going to paper over and hope that Joey Biden is elected and that the feds can kick in some money to bail him out come next year, D. So that is my prediction of the games people play. Night or day, it's just like magic. Games people play. 5:45, heading for the subway.
Hey, is your window open?
No.
Okay.
I closed my window. Wait, you heard the train go by?
That one was barreling through.
Guy was like, I got a schedule to keep. Remember Baby Driver, D? Remember those days?
Oh, yes.
Sorry, D.
I was going to say anything else? All right. France article continues to close the gaping... What? Okay.
You just drank some water.
Well...
It was delicious.
Okay. Keep your feelings to your water to yourself here. France article continues to close the gaping hole in her 2020 budget. Lightfoot said she plans to leverage funding from the first round of federal stimulus funds, achieve another $100 million in savings from debt refinancing and unspecified borrowing, and order another round of unspecified cuts. Next year's pandemic budget will depend on assistance from the federal government in the form of what she hopes will be a a second round of stimulus funds to replace the lost revenue. Lightfoot said, quote, "We need a bipartisan solution. We cannot let the policymakers in Washington, D.C. fiddle while our country burns." Lightfoot said, she said this, vowing to offer contingencies if the pre-election stalemate continues. "We will also need our fair share of revenue from Springfield, starting with fully funding the local government distributive fund. We can work together to fully fund LGDF and avoid sending us unfunded mandates. And we must find real solutions to the pension crisis and make sure all of the funds are sustainable for years to come."
Yeah, pay your pension bills. That's the real solution. By the way, I didn't know that was coming. Everything I said was proven true. In the quotes that you read, D, I feel like I saw the future before it happened. Whoa, that's really remarkable. Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's what she's doing, ladies and gentlemen. She's praying that Joey B is elected. Please. I think Lori Lightfoot may want Joe Biden to be elected president almost as much as I do, D, which is a lot.
But wait, there's more. During the same press briefing, Mayor Lightfoot surprisingly addressed that she's planning to change her political discourse. Yes, say goodbye to the former.
We will shut you down. We will cite you. And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail.
I want an answer. It's not something you ignore.
I think you're 100% full of shit.
I won't just turn the car around. I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to kick you out and I'm going to make you walk home.
And get ready to say hello to a mayor that will tell you that you're 100% full of awesomeness and will plan to not only keep you in the car, but maybe even let you control the music, huh? On to the...
That was good, D. That was really good.
On to Fran Spielman, article number 2. Mayor Lori Lightfoot on Monday acknowledged the role she has played in widening Chicago's political divide and vowed to do her part, as she put it, quote, "change the tone of our discourse." Lightfoot famously told President Trump that she had 2 words for him, a phrase that begins with an F and ends with you. She similarly unleashed a profanity-laced tirade that you just heard against Alderman Ray Lopez of the 15th Ward when Lopez accused her administration of being caught flat-footed by the first round of looting sparked by the death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police. She's been embroiled in a Cold War with the Fraternal Order of Police that turned into a deep freeze when the outspoken John Catanzara was elected as president. In their most recent battle, Lightfoot sent Catanzara a series of text messages calling him a, quote, cartoon character, a clown, and a total fraud after he wrote a letter to President Trump asking for federal help to stop the violence in Chicago. As she wrapped up her Monday speech devoted mostly exclusive to finances, Lightfoot looked her thin-skinned self squarely in the mirror. Fran's words, not ours, all right? Lightfoot looked her thin-skinned self squarely in the mirror and vowed to do better. Lightfoot said, quote, "The thing that has me most concerned is, increasingly, we seem to have lost the ability to talk to each other, and our ability to work together toward common goals is becoming increasingly limited. The discussion has moved from how can we work together to how can we score points? We are losing the ability to see other people's perspectives. Too many of us ascribe the worst motives to anyone who does not agree with 100% of our beliefs." Lightfoot said it's time to, quote, "change the tone of our discourse, and there is no better place to start than the budget process." She continues saying, "When I say we, that includes me as well. I need to push myself harder to work with people who I do not agree with and who do not agree with me," she said in a rare moment of self-criticism and reflection. She continued saying, "If you're focused on creating a better tomorrow for all of our residents, then I will be even more intentional in finding common ground with you. Reach out to me and I will do the same." Lightfoot said she's proud of what she's accomplished during her first year in office, but that there is more that she must do, quote, "as a person who loves this city and its people, as a neighbor, a friend, and a mom. I want my daughter to see her mom as a person of strength and great character, a person who is a fearless advocate for those who are locked out from access to power and resources for far too long, a person of empathy and with an open mind and compassionate heart." While I've worked hard to model the behavior I want our young people to emulate, I know that I must do more. I hope that all people of goodwill in this city will join me. Ben Joravsky, will we join her? Or I'll phrase the question better. Will she join us?
I don't know about that, D. You know, I read that story. It was interesting. The examples did not include the Chicago Teachers Union. Maybe I'm just a little sensitive on this issue, but let's see. They pointed out that Lori had negative things to say about Donny Trump, that she had negative things. She cursed out Raylo, good friend of the Ben Joravsky show, I might add, and that she is no big fan of Johnny Catanzara, the head of the Fraternal Order of Police. But what she didn't point out is that she has never really had anything nice to say about the Chicago Teachers Union. And it's an interesting thing because I'm now going to steal an idea that I got from Dennis a couple of years ago. So sorry, D, I'm taking your idea, but I'm giving you credit for it at least.
All right, well.
All right. When it comes to like all the institutions in Chicago and all the unions in Chicago and just like all the little branches of Civic Chicago, like the one group that seems to be on the outs are lefties. Like, you know, everybody has got a tolerance for police to a certain degree. They got tolerance for any business entity. You know, you give a little break toward them. The civic groups downtown. You know, aldermen. So they're like saying, yeah, we got to be nice, but not a word about the CTU. And the CTU is probably the loudest and most organized voice on the left in Chicago. And so as such, the powers that be, by and large, agree with efforts to treat them like pariahs, treat them as unreasonable. I would say that most people in the city of Chicago agree with the platform of lefties in the CTU, a fair redistribution of money, a fair taxation. But no, when it comes to implementing them, we're very much controlled by the powers that be, and they treat the teachers union like pariahs. That's the best word for it. What did you say, D, about the teachers union once, way back when? They're like the Tupac of Chicago politics. Isn't that what you said? And that's kind of like they're the outsiders. They don't get invited to the parties. So it's really interesting to hear all the list of people that Lori's been mean to, and they don't mention the teachers union. Well, it's probably because they think she's right about the way they deal with the teachers. So I'm hoping I got mixed feelings in this one, D. As the host of a podcast, I must admit, I do get a kick out of when Lori loses it. You know, it is kind of funny.
Yeah, no, great content.
It's great. Thank you, Lori. So, Lori, you know, don't go too far with this, all right? Mayor Lightfoot. Is that my phone? Wow, someone's calling me.
Oh, awesome.
But I also realize, and I also know that you're very popular in Chicago because people in Chicago love a tough mayor. And so they may pretend like, oh, this rhetoric, well, I don't know. It's just so inappropriate. Can't we all get along? But they love it. They will always vote. Oh, that mayor speaks her mind. I like her. They like tough mayors. They like tough presidents. They like fighting and negativity. Let's be honest. Negativity sells. So I have a hard time believing that A, the people in Chicago want you to drop it, and B, you have it within you to drop it because you seem like you like to throw a punch every now and then. But I will believe it if I hear that you give a phone call to one SDG, Stacey Davis Gates, the public face of the Chicago Teachers Union, and you've never had a nice thing to say about Stacey Davis Gates. And everybody that I know who knows you is always telling me how bad Stacey Davis Gates is. That's something I always put up with. Ben, you don't know the real Stacey Davis Gates. I'm like, I've known Stacey Davis Gates. No, you don't really know. So I'll believe that it's a new day in Chicago when the lefties are brought in. How about that, D? Be nice to Lefty Day. How about that, huh? I don't think so. It's like, we hate left. Oh, yeah, be nice to the Fraternal Order Police, and be nice to Raylo, and be nice to Trump. but beep those lefties.
I don't want
When
an
I
answer.
see,
It's not something you ignore.
I think you're 100% full of shit.
yes, Lori. I don't know, D. If she ends that, I will miss that Lori Lightfoot.
Brianna on the live stream chat says, so which PR person wrote this for Lori?
Yeah. You're right. They probably did a poll. Actually, if they did a poll, Brianna, my bet is, they really like you on the north side, Mayor Lightfoot, no matter what you say and what you do.
Jay Marie asked a great question on the live stream chat. Jay Marie, what's happening? Always appreciate you listening. She says, so does this mean Lori is going to allow protesters on her block again?
Oh, come on. No. Negatory with the protesters, okay? You know that's not... Yeah, she's going to go out and hug the protesters? Let's say something nice about each other. Who was it that went out? I think it was Miguel Del Valle. I give him credit. The president of the Board of Education, there were protesters outside of his home, and he came out and he asked them, could they lower the racket? Because I think he said his mom was trying to sleep, which I thought was a really honest moment. You know what I'm saying, D? It's like 80-something-year-old mom was trying to sleep. I don't know. I guess I still have a soft spot in my heart for Miguel Del Valle. I thought that was pretty cool that he did that.
And before we get to our last story here, Fred on the live stream chat, he brings up an interesting point here. We'll ask you, Ben. Let's look back in time here. Fred says, in hindsight, Toni Preckwinkle might have run all of this a little better, even though she's not known for her tact either. What do you think?
I don't know. That's a tough one, Fred. That's a really tough one. I've never seen Toni Preckwinkle. You put it best yourself, Fred. You answered your own point when you said tactful. And I just recall I was turned off on Toni Preckwinkle. This goes back to the Hideout interview we did, where she just avoided every single question we asked. Now, I know what our listeners are going to come right back and say. I can hear you right now before you say it. Yeah, but Ben, that's Lori answered all your questions and then violated pretty much every single. You got a good point. Okay, I can't argue with that. But when you ask about tact, I don't know. Maybe this crisis would have transformed Toni Preckwinkle. We'd have seen a side of her we've never seen. It's hard to say. But I would not have predicted that based on the campaign she ran initially. If you recall, Toni Preckwinkle's campaign was very much an establishment campaign because she felt that she was so confident in the early days, she thought she might win without a runoff or that she'd end up against someone like Bill Daley. And then, come on, D. I mean, if you're a progressive, who are you going to vote for, Bill Daley or Toni Preckwinkle? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Lightfoot came right into the hideout with that hipster two-hearted ale beer and just gave you kind of fooled everybody, huh?
Sure, man. Ben, I'm with you 100% on those tips. Ben, I'm with you 100% on that Lincoln Yards. Mick, you are so correct in everything you say about police reform. You know, well, what are you going to do, D, huh?
All right, and finally, a story that Ben wanted to riff on. In fact, Ben told me to, quote, give him the ball on this story. He loves basketball, guys. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times editorial board. The headline reads, Emmett Till's home, a launching pad for the civil rights movement, deserves landmark status. A humble two-flat at 64th and St. Lawrence played a central role in one of the most important moments in U.S. history, and there's an effort to keep it from being lost before most people even realize it's there. Emmett Till, the 14-year-old Chicagoan whose 1955 murder at the hands of Mississippi racists sent shockwaves around the world, lived on the second floor of 6427 St. Lawrence Avenue with his mother, Mammy, at the time of his death. Last Thursday marked the 65th anniversary of Till's murder, and now Till's family and architectural preservations are renewing a push to win city landmark status for the building, citing its link to history. Their work could pay off this week. On Thursday, the city's Commission on Chicago Landmarks will decide whether to grant the building preliminary landmark status. We urge the commission to vote in favor of the Till home. Landmark status would further honor Emmett and Mamie Till's tragic but critical role in 20th century America, and given that the building has fallen into despair, landmarking would help protect the two-flat from demolition or ham-fisted renovation attempts. The building must be saved and put into action, and to make that happen, the city must throw its protective arms around it.
Yeah, I asked Dennis to read this story because I realize that what I'm about to say is not a top of the list of the pressing issues that we face as a society, with Donald Trump trying to pit black people against white people in order to win re-election. But I must say this. Chicago has done a terrible job, in my humble opinion, at preserving its historical legacy. And in fact, the attitude in Chicago, particularly, by the way, particularly in black neighborhoods on the South and the West Side, and I humbly believe this, that the attitude in Chicago is like, you know what? Can we just get rid of this history? Can we just tear down these buildings? Can we just move these people out? Can we just pretend it's like this didn't exist? This is far greater than Emmett Till. But Emmett Till, D, when I saw this headline, when I saw this story, and I think this is the second one that was in the Bright one. So I've been thinking about this over the weekend. I can't believe that it wasn't a landmark already. I mean, Emmett Till, the story of Emmett Till is one of the most, significant, tragic stories about race relations in this country that exists. It seems to grow it seems to resonate every year with greater importance and significance. And he is such a historical figure. His name, his image, the story of how he was tortured and killed, the circumstances of his death in Mississippi at the hands of racists, the way those racists were let go. It just speaks so much about our history in the country and the struggle we've had just to have anything resembling a decent race relationship between black and whites. And the idea that Chicago already hadn't turned it into a landmark, already hadn't preserved it. They were going to lose this building. I think of like other significant buildings in Chicago. Fred Hampton's, the apartment where Fred Hampton, the building that Fred Hampton lived in December of 1969, where he was killed, that should be preserved. I think that should be a museum. What else? What about Martin Luther King on the west side of Chicago? Martin Luther King came to the city of Chicago in 1966 in order to bring the civil rights movement from the South to the North and concentrate on economic justice. This is a history that Chicagoans are not proud of, and so they kind of sweep under the carpet. He was, to put it mildly, was not treated well by white Chicago. Mayor Richard J. Daley, who was the all-powerful mayor at the time, wanted nothing to do with Martin Luther King and tried to subvert and undercut him at every step of the way. And then when Martin Luther King finally settled on a strategy of marching in white neighborhoods for open housing, he was met with fierce resistance. Mobs of white people threw a rock at him, hit him in the head. This is the man of peace. This is the greatest crusader for brotherhood in our country. And this is how he was responding. And there was no looting at the time to blame on. Just saying that. It's just pure hatred. And so I just think like his old apartment should be preserved. I think it's been demolished, D. Don't quote me on that. But we just continually destroy all these landmarks that are linked to our past, probably because we don't want to confront the past. That's the big problem. So when I saw this Emmett Till thing, I just wanted to, please, Chicago, do the right thing, preserve the building, turn it into a museum. You know, do for that building what folks in Memphis did with the motel where Dr. King was killed, turned it into a civil rights museum. So that's my spiel for the day on this one, D. And there's so many other landmarks in Chicago, particularly in the South and West Sides, that should be preserved. But Chicago's got that relentlessness. Let's just move them out, tear it down, rebuild it, and forget it ever happened.
Yeah, it sounds like.
By the way,
oh, go ahead.
What's that?
No, go ahead.
No, by the way, until the pandemic, that's what was happening. I mean, development in Chicago has kind of slowed up since the pandemic, but ultimately, that's what the city planning process was all about. Just plow them over and move on. Go ahead, young man.
Well, it sounds like this may be a time for an interview with our preservation specialist, one Andrew Schneider. Have him on to talk about this.
Absolutely. That is man, why didn't I think of that? That is a great idea.
And also, too, live stream chat. And if you're listening on the download, please feel free to send us an email with some suggestions here. Because myself and Andrew Schneider, we're actually in the works of putting a preservation podcast together. Andrew Schneider knows so much about the history of this city and its buildings and everything. So what we're going to do, we're trying to put a preservation podcast together. We have a few ideas for names. If you know of any good names, if you can think of some good names for a preservation podcast, please weigh in. Live stream chat, I'm looking at you. And also send us an email, bennyjshow@gmail.com, BENNY, the letter J show @gmail.com. Andrew Schneider, we've got a few interviews in the can. We're working on it right now, so it should be coming out very shortly. But we're kind of going back and forth on a name for a preservation podcast. Please feel free to weigh in. And Ben, let's get Andrew Schneider back on the show soon.
Absolutely. Well, he was. We had him on the show. We dropped an interview with Andrew when we were on vacation, but I think he should be a monthly guest. He's outstanding, knows his stuff. And by the way, and also, as I said to Andrew when I had him on the show, we're letting the cat out of the bag. That's my cat imitation.
Oh wow, that was good. I thought there was a cat in your attic.
What can I say, man? I'm just a master, Rich Little.
Hang tight, millennials.
Dennis. He always asks me not to reveal all the secrets he's got, but he's cooking up quite a few podcasts that sound outstanding, and I can't wait till I get the opportunity when he gives me the green light to tell everybody about it. But let's just say he's got a few tricks up his podcasting sleeve.
Yeah, and it's a short sleeve that I'm wearing here, so not too many, I guess. You know what I mean? All right, so that's our local news, guys. Feel free to weigh in, live stream chat. Keep it coming here. We'll probably read your comments here before we roll out of the program. Send us an email at BennyJShow, BENNY, the letter J show @gmail.com. Also, you can find us on social media, BENNY, the letter J show as well. We would love to hear from you. All right, don't go anywhere, everybody, because when we come back after this Michael Girardi hit, the return of our good friend and Chicago Reader colleague, Maya Dukmasova. It's the Ben Joravsky Show. We are live from my apartment and also Ben's attic.
Turn the car around. I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to kick you out, and I'm going to make you walk home.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan. Hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show for Tuesday, September 1st is brought to you in part by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, and the Chicago Federation of Labor. Benny J, take it away.
The legendary Maya Dukmasova is with me right now. I can see her. She can't see me. That's because I have an old computer without a camera. But Maya has a young computer. And I can see her. Maya, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. There's much to talk about, including her sensational article, which I already talked about last week, but we'll talk about it again. I was felling over it about the budget blues. It's actually, in its own way, a form of bizarre entertainment and diversion for me. I think of all the problems Chicago has, the world has, our country has with this lunatic in charge of the White House. The budget games that the powers that be in Chicago play to keep us in the dark and to keep us clueless. It's sort of like a relatively benign source of entertainment for me when I consider the pending apocalyptic doom of the world today. But so before we get to all that, breaking news on the Maya Ben front. And Maya, I think you should be the one who breaks the news, since you've been the one cutting the deals behind the scenes.
Deals. The irons are in the fire. The knives are getting sharpened. First Tuesdays is coming back in October.
Yay for our teachers! Yay for our teachers!
The triumphant return of the pandemic season. We haven't had a show since March. And we're really excited. We're trying to plan something really amazing for all of you. And first Tuesday in October, it's going to be online. We're collaborating with the Hideout, as always. So the tickets will go to benefit the Hideout. That's also obviously facing a really difficult time right now, being closed as a venue. And we are, the first Tuesday of October is going to be October 6th. It'll be online. We'll have more information for you guys about how to buy your tickets and how to tune in to watch the show. And we're hopefully going to have an amazing guest to discuss politics and race in Chicago ahead of the November election.
Yeah, there's a guess, and I've been sworn to secrecy because we have not dotted all the I's and crossed the T's, to put it mildly, but we're shooting for the top with this person. I'm a huge fan. I was extolling this person's virtues all last week and talking about a certain book that has really...
Let's not give anything more.
All right, okay, all right.
Sell it, Ben. We have a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross.
Yes. All right. But anyway, I just wanted to get the word out. First Tuesday returning, at least virtually. And I look forward to the day when First Tuesday can return as First Tuesday on this Hideout stage, sitting next to Maya, having a lot of fun talking. All right. We're going to get into your story, your excellent story about the Chicago Public Schools and what happened when you sought some basic information. Basic information. We're not talking about like how to make an A-bomb type information, okay? So what? Basic. Lead us from A to Z on this one, Maya.
Yeah, so basically back in June, the school district had a meeting that was publicly broadcast in which they took a vote on whether or not to immediately end the school resource officer program. This is the basically like what puts cops in 72 district high schools. So in the context of the board preparing to take that vote, the CPS officials did a presentation during that June board meeting in which they publicized the results of a survey that they had conducted in May and early June, trying to get teachers, students, parents, administrators, staff, community members' opinions about the school resource officer program. And they threw up some slides on their presentation during the meeting that showed that they had 3,300 students who had answered this survey. The vast majority of their responses were from students, and that the vast majority of the students had a positive view of the school resource officer program. So I'm sitting there watching the Zoom meeting, and I think to myself, this seems strange. There is a lot of protests happening right now in the city of Chicago, a lot of them led by CPS students. There's a lot of conversations about how this program has been harmful to the overall learning environment in the schools that exist, that it functions to criminalize Black young men in particular, that the program, I mean, the Reader has been reporting about how there's been little to no oversight over the cops in schools since like 2017. And there's really not much transparency about the program. It's not clear, you know, how the officers that are in these schools are selected, what qualifications they have, blah, blah, blah. There's been instances of officers, there being misconduct complaints about officers in these schools. So when I saw that presentation and I saw that they had this slide showing that, you know, most students have a positive view of the program, I thought, you know what, let me just file a FOIA request and get this raw data from the survey to see, you know, how is it? Like, was there anything in the way that they did this survey that created these results? It just seemed like kind of hard to believe. So I filed my FOIA request the day after the meeting. Pretty basic request. I just simply asked them, well, first I asked them a series of questions about the survey, and they answered, but not in much detail. So then I asked, okay, I filed the FOIA. I asked for the raw data from the survey, and I had done a little bit of research before this, and I found out that they used a platform called Survey Gizmo, which is sort of like SurveyMonkey or Google Surveys or whatever. It's like an online software that allows you to build the survey you want. And then once people take it, it's very easy to download the data into an Excel spreadsheet and sort of analyze your results. So I knew that it would be very easy for them to give me what I had asked for. So I filed the request. Now, for those of you familiar with FOIA, the government agency has 5 business days to respond, and they can also ask for an extension of 5 additional business days if for whatever reason they need more time, or if the records are hard to put together or whatever. So immediately I got the extension request. So I knew that I wouldn't be hearing back from them for another 10 business days.
Well, hold on, Maya. One quick question before you go further. And this is my favorite question to ask. FOIA stands for Freedom of Information Act requests. So it's a state law set up to help citizens like yourself, journalists in this case, access information from the government that should be public, but isn't. So you have to put in an official request where you're asking them to abide by the state law. And so my question to you is this: why didn't they just turn it over to you already? Just why don't they? I mean, I can't imagine. It's not like there's any secrets in this information. Why don't they just, oh, Maya, you want this information? Here you go. Why don't they just do that?
So whenever they have even the slightest ability to claim that some government, whatever records they have might contain sensitive student information, they will assert the protecting students' privacy as the reason for not handing over the information. Now, they had sent me a blank version of the survey. They sent me the questions. And the questions, like, they didn't collect anybody's names. They didn't collect any identifying information except for whether the person that was taking the survey was a student, a parent, blah, 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 what school community they were a part of. And then they asked like gender, race. They also asked sexual orientation, which was, I don't know why they were collecting that particular information. And they asked people if they or anybody in their family had involvement in the criminal justice system. So back to my story. So basically, the 10 business days that they have to get back to me have passed, and the next response I get from them is that, your request is unduly burdensome because it's going to require us to go through thousands and thousands of survey responses in order to redact and edit out any personal information, anything that could identify a student. So please narrow your request. So I went ahead and narrowed my request. I asked them to only give me information that related to the role the person played at the school, whether they were student, parent, teacher, whatever, the school that they identified as their school, and also just the race, not even the gender. So I just asked for the race. Oh, and also if they were students, what grade they were in. So then I just never heard anything back. Now, keep in mind, now we're at the end of July. All summer long, after the board had not voted to immediately terminate the school resource officer program, they left it up to the local school councils of all of the 72 schools that have the program to decide whether or not they want to continue this. By all accounts, this was the first time the local school councils were being asked to make a major policy decision about that of a policy that affected the district, that affects thousands and thousands of students. Many of these local school councils don't even meet regularly. They didn't have a quorum when they were taking these votes. By all accounts, they really weren't very well prepared to assess this issue and to take an informed vote. But the results from CPS's survey were one of the things that would be provided to them, to help them make their decision. So anyway, we're at the end of July. School district, the time is ticking because in August, at the end of August, they're supposed to have a meeting to vote about whether or not to continue the Cops in Schools program for next school year, for whenever it is that students get back inside school buildings. So so they never responded to my narrowed request, and that's when I decided to sue them, which is a step that you are allowed to take. If you essentially get denied or improperly denied some kind of public records. So I connected with our friends at Lovey and Lovey, Matt Topic over there, who's an expert on FOIA litigation, and we filed a complaint against them in the Circuit Court of Cook County. And within a week of us filing the lawsuit, they produced the data. So I know for a fact, because I had talked to the company that created the software for the survey, that it would have taken 2 minutes for them to download what I had asked for, and then maybe a couple of hours of someone making sure that there was nothing in the comment sections of these questions that could have revealed student information. But basically, the whole thing, within a week, I had the data. So we know it was easy to provide. We know it was doable. It wasn't unduly burdensome. And in my opinion, they did not want to release this data because it wasn't going to be helpful for them for the vote that was coming up with the board at the end of August. It did not show that the district had done really due diligence to make sure to understand the program from all students' perspectives. Because when I was doing the data analysis, as I learned, the 10 schools, there's 72 schools in the program, 10 students from 10 schools were responsible for 50% of the survey responses. Mm-hmm. And most of those schools were white, selective enrollment, north side schools, or anyway, ones that weren't majority Black. And there were 18 schools, some of the poorest schools in the city, ones with over 95% population of Black students, where they had 10 or fewer responses from students at those schools. And those are the students that are most adversely affected by, criminalizations within the schools. So, obviously, this information didn't necessarily make any particular difference. The board vote still pretty much broke down the way it had the first time they voted in June. But I thought that it was a pretty pretty desperate attempt by the school district to sit on this information that ended up just costing more taxpayer money, because now, they're going to have to pay Lowy and Lovey as part of the settlement agreement, because they were in the wrong. We're now settling the lawsuit, and they're going to have to pay attorney's fees to the lawyers that represented the reader in all this. So,
yeah, I have several reactions. My first goes back to the first point I made. That knee-jerk response by the powers that be, the Board of Education. This is not new with this particular administration, the Lori Lightfoot administration and the Janice Jackson administration. This is like a knee-jerk response, Maya, that I could tell you firsthand I've been dealing with for many years. Just like that knee-jerk, we're not going to give it to you. We're not going to give it to you. And it's like the first question I said, I'm listening to the response they gave to you. They withheld the information in order to, they said, to protect the identity of students. So they always pick this benevolent reason.
The survey was premised on it being anonymous. So when people were taking it, they were under the impression that their identity couldn't be revealed.
Right.
So it was even paradoxical that they would say that they needed to edit something about the answers to protect people's identity.
You took the words literally right out of my mouth. They were protecting something that didn't exist. Like the identities of students that was already concealed. And this is an old game. And I know, like, when you're involved in a process like this, Maya, you can get really fired up. I know I get fired up when I was dealing with these bureaucrats and these lawyers. But it's like they put this wall in front of you and they just say, you can run into that wall all you want. And we're just going to keep that wall there until you get tired of bashing your head against it. And then we will have been victorious in keeping you from knowing how your government works. And it just feeds such cynicism. And I remember, I think it was the issue had to do, this goes way back, Maya, back to the early days of Rahm, when he was running the Board of Education. There was an issue about, I want to say, the longer school day. And they claimed to have done a survey, the Board of Education, they claimed to have done a survey of parents regarding the longer school day, and some citizen asked for the results and they wouldn't give them. They stonewalled them. I wrote several articles about it. And it's just an old game, and it feeds such cynicism. And I'm going to go bigger with it. I'll say right now, Donald Trump has demonized the media, has demonized, like the dark state. And he has successfully exploited the cynicism people have toward government and toward journalists, et cetera. And I'm just saying, when you see these trivial resistance that they throw to somebody like you, who's just seeing some basic information, it helps the Donald Trumps of the world. Do you follow what I'm saying? It just feeds people's just notion that government isn't looking out for them, that government is guarding and protecting and not telling the truth.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if you think that's bad, wait till you hear about the issues I'm having getting with a FOIA of a police report that was for a non-criminal incident that was it's like a one page, basically, that happened on July 30th. So just a month ago. I have not been able to, I have had someone from CPD's communications folks, their media relations people, actually read to me what's in this report. I filed a FOIA on August 11th. I still haven't heard anything back. And it's something that I literally know would be so easy to just pull off their computer system and give to me. But I have a feeling that because of the nature of the incident, I don't know if they don't want to release it or what the deal is, but it's very likely it's going to have to be another lawsuit. Again, more taxpayer dollars that are going to be spent to pay the lawyers for this, for something that should be a matter of public record. On top of that, it's even more bizarre because it's a police report of it's not even an issue of like protecting someone's privacy or an ongoing investigation or whatever. It is literally by its definition a public record. And whenever you ask them anything about police reports, they always say file a FOIA. And, you know, in my experience, I've actually had like mostly pretty good luck with the police department when it comes to FOIA. I know people have a lot of nightmare stories, but I, until this incident, have never had an issue with them really messing things up and like me having to go to court to get things from them. But now it's just so ridiculous because this is like one piece of paper. We're not even talking about like, oh, like records of police torture from the 1980s, you know, like hidden in a basement on paper somewhere. This is like on their computer system right now. It would take 5 seconds to just like download the PDF and send me the email. But they've blown all their deadlines for providing me this document. And yeah, I mean,
so in your opinion, why the resistance to they read you supposedly what's on the paper? Go ahead.
I mean, I am always hesitant to ascribe some kind of intention to these kinds of things because I feel like when you have a giant bureaucracy, the most likely explanation is always going to be that someone is overlooking something, that it's just plain run-of-the-mill incompetence, or, you know, it's like something got missed. Somebody missed something. Like it's a basic kind of mistake. But if it's not that, if they really are trying to keep this out of my hands, which again is like a very stupid thing to do when it comes to a FOIA, because like you can get this stuff. You can like, you know, people go to court and they get the thing, and I know the record exists, so I will get this record. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that this police report describes an incident, and it doesn't describe this incident the way it actually happened. And I have video evidence, and I actually personally witnessed this incident. So I have there's like half a dozen people who saw this thing go down, and it involved some very improper conduct by some ex-cops. And the real cops came, they made a report. The report is not reflective of reality. And the only thing I can think of is that, because I'm asking questions about why the report didn't reflect reality, the spokespeople are telling me that until I have the actual report in my hand, until I get it through the FOIA, they're not going to answer any questions about it. Which is another mind-bending thing, because it's like, okay, your colleague read the report to me. I'm asking questions about the report. You're not going to answer them because I don't have the report in front of me? Okay, so now I have to do this whole dog and pony show of getting the report, and it's just crickets. So I don't know.
Wow, that's gonna be a great story. You've shielded the details to protect your story. It's gonna be a hell of a story, and you're gonna have to bring in that lawyer, Matt, to file a suit.
Taxpayers are paying Matt Topic's salary because our government agencies are too preoccupied with keeping public records away from public eyes.
Yeah, and again, the biggest example of this is, of course, the Laquan McDonald video that Mayor Rahm concealed. And we've talked about this on the show several times as we just review where we are as a city and as a country in terms of the issue of police relations with Black communities and what governments are doing about it. And it is just so obvious to me. I just had a long, involved conversation on this topic, Maya, with somebody who was in Kenosha watching the civil unrest in Kenosha. It just seems to me that even though this has been an age-old problem in our country going back years and years, it's only been relatively recently that we've confronted the evidence. And in Chicago, really everything has changed since the Laquan McDonald video was released, which completely, to your point, contradicted the official stand that the city had. And just think about it. Think about the fight that Mayor Rahm put up to avoid having to release that video. And if he hadn't lost, it was a FOIA case. And you know this as well as I do. It was a FOIA case. A judge ruled against.
I think it was actually Matt Topic who was the lawyer on that case.
I think it was.
They definitely worked with Lovie and Lovie on it.
Yes. And just think, I don't even know if that case, if that judge had ruled against Matt Topic's client and that video had been concealed, I don't think we'd be where we are right now. Just think, Mayor Rahm may still be mayor of the city of Chicago.
Yeah, totally.
So,
really, I mean, the Freedom of Information Act is like one of these things that truly this country is, for all the conversations about the sort of, guardrails of our democracy and the way that institutions here, need to properly function to protect the kind of the order of things. For all the comparisons of this country slipping into autocracy the way that so many others around the world slip into periodically or cyclically or inevitably, the fact that something like the Freedom of Information Act on a federal level and at the state level, the fact that we have access to government documents is probably one of the most special things about American government and society. And it's truly a rare thing, and especially about how easy it is to use the Freedom of Information Act. I mean, you could argue that you shouldn't have to even use any kind of special law and make special requests to get any public documents. But the truth of the matter is the fact that we even have it is it's hugely important. And, it definitely says something about the particular types of people that are running a particular unit of government when they don't respond to these requests, when they try to, when they try to stonewall and sit on these documents and sit on these videos, etc. But at the end of the day, I don't know, you can still kind of exercise your rights, take your case to court, and get what you're asking for. It's a hassle. It discourages most people. It definitely protects the institution and the bad actors, because most people are not going to go to court. Most people don't know how to file a FOIA request to begin with. But, I still feel like it's a pretty big deal that these records are gettable in this country, So I don't know what the point of that spiel was.
No, I know what the point of the spiel was. I took notes on that spiel. It was a good riff. The point of that spiel is we have a principle of transparency that's like a bedrock of democracy.
And it still works. It actually works.
Yes, but if we don't, it only works if people go through the bureaucratic hell of making it work, where you appeal to a judge. The knee-jerk response of people when they take power is to deny access to information. Yeah. I've seen that happen with every single mayor. And the last mayor, whose name I momentarily forgot, it was Rahm. He came into office promising to be the most transparent mayor of all time. You talk about feeding cynicism. That dude slammed the door shut on so many just basic requests for information. And Lori Lightfoot also promised to be a transparent mayor. And they, as candidates, they say how much they agree with the things that you are articulating, Maya. And then once in office, boom, slam the door shut on it. They want to limit access.
But I'll tell you what. Here's how I can conclude my spiel, which is that this is why you have to support your local journalists and your local journalism institutions. Because you do not have time to be filing these requests and fighting the agencies and going to court. This is what journalists are there to do. And that's why there needs to be more of us. And that's why you should read and support the reader.
Yes. Wow. I got to tell you, Lisa Solomon and Tracy Bain would be so proud of that, what you just said there. Support the reader, absolutely, and the good work that Maya's doing. By the way, Maya, this gets the issue of transparency. We've already discussed it before you came on the show. You mentioned that you were sort of following it from afar. Your thoughts on the budget, the Chicago's budget, Mayor Lori Lightfoot?
Promises wrapped in lies.
All right. Well, that's just.
I don't know. I don't remember who said this, but a budget is a promise wrapped in lies.
Yeah.
So, this is just the beginning of the process. I don't know. It's pretty crazy though the immediate reaction is just how we're going to be dealing with austerity in this city. We're going to be dealing with a shortfall in appropriations from the federal and state governments. There's going to be cuts and layoffs, but like police are still getting $1.7 billion.
Yeah, there will not, I think we could fairly safely predict that there will not be cuts in the police. We've not had the conversation about the unfolding defund the police movement, which I don't think you and I have had a conversation about this, Maya, and maybe you did and I forgot. I've had so many conversations. But are you surprised by Lori Lightfoot's resistance to defund the police overtures?
No. Why would I be surprised?
Well, she came to the hideout and said that she was not the candidate. We were just talking about this as well.
She's not a cop?
Yeah, she's not a cop. Maya warned us, but I just want to say this about Maya.
No, I didn't warn you. People who know her record warned you. People who dealt with her directly as the head of the police board warned you.
Yeah, they warned us too. But Maya as well.
Her work directly warned you. No, I'm not surprised.
Okay. And I just want to say this right now.
She's going to get reelected if she's going to get behind defunding the police. You think she doesn't want to win every ward again?
With 75%.
Hang on to those kind of moderate and right-wing leaning white southwest, northwest side areas of the city. And she's not going to get behind define the police message. No way.
This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
Yeah, that's her way of saying, hey, Maya.
This blue light.
Anyway, Maya did warn us, I think, of several occasions, but she was perhaps passing on a warning she picked up from others, but she would not reveal in any way who she voted for because she's that kind of journalist. All right, Maya, before I let you walk out the door, I have to ask you, did you get any opportunity to watch any of the Republican convention last week?
Yes.
And your general thoughts?
It was a better show than the Democratic convention. I'll tell you that much. Those people know how to put on a show. Bleak, but it was a better show. And unfortunately, a lot of people are just going to go with the best show in town.
What do you mean by better show? That's interesting. What do you mean by that?
I mean, did you watch both of them?
I watched huge chunks of each, yes.
You got Republicans for Biden, old, crusty, uncharismatic white dudes going up against like coked out Kimberly Guilfoyle, like
Yeah.
I don't know anything about anyone's drug use. I'm just saying that it was the kind of ethos of a big speech at the end of a big party with a lot of cocaine. That's how I imagined. That was the vibe. That was the energy to me.
But yes, and Maya is speaking metaphorically now. She's not literally saying that anybody took cocaine. She's speaking metaphorically. Go ahead.
Speaking metaphorically. You've got PBS versus Leni Riefenstahl. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
You
yeah.
I don't understand why the Democrats couldn't put on a better show.
Well, in general, this gets back to the notion that the Democrats think, particularly in the Biden Democrats, think that the way to win is to appeal to the good graces that exist in everybody and our desire to have bipartisan governor relations and bipartisan government. And that is a theory that I've never seen successful when adopted to electoral strategy, Maya. I got to tell you that. But that's what now I'm even more depressed than I was when I began the show. Let's close by you saying something uplifting and that will turn my day around and make me feel good about life.
First Tuesday's coming back next month, baby.
Yay for our teachers. Yay for our teachers.
Woo.
And I can't wait. If I'm just going to say one more time, if Maya's strategy is successful, we're going to have one hell of a guest. But you know what? We're going to have one hell of a guest, even if this strategy is not successful.
Yeah, either way, whatever happens, we're going to have one hell of a guest, maybe two hells of a guest.
And you guys got a date set, right?
Yep, it's going to be Tuesday, October 6th, and we will be updating you guys as we get closer about all the details in terms of how the live stream will work, how you'll be able to get tickets, all that fun stuff.
Follow First Tuesdays on Facebook and social media too. You can get those details.
Right. Very good. Thank you, Dennis. All right, Maya, take care. Stay safe. Stay sound. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Dennis, you got any updates for us before we head out that door?
Absolutely, I do. Once again, find First Tuesday on social media for those updates. I hope you guys get 1 billion viewers.
Yes, that's billion with a B.
All right, let's do some updates.
Yes, okay.
All right, some updates here. Donald Trump has arrived in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He arrived shortly before we started the program. Ben, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Trump arrived with Attorney General William Barr, your buddy.
Oh God. What's Barr going to do for him?
I don't know.
Look at documents? What the hell is Barr going there for?
I don't know. Wipe him down if he has a napkin with him. I don't know. But William Barr has arrived in Kenosha with Donald Trump. Oh, Joe Biden has something to say about that.
Come on, man.
All right. He's running.
Hey, man, stop making fun of Biden, all right?
I'm not making fun of him. It was him weighing in.
Come on, man.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Come on, man.
All right. Let's
Joey B. I'm voting for him.
Let's see here. After, by the way, this comes from theguardian.com. Shout out to them. Thank you so much. It says here, after arriving in Kenosha, Trump surveyed the property that had been damaged amid recent protests over the police shooting of Jacob Blake. So that went on. And let's see here. Oh,
so what? He just walked. Is he out of the town now, or doesn't say?
Yeah, he's out on the town. He's walking around.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Keep up. All right.
So no. I mean, is he still in Kenosha, or is he left, or it doesn't say?
I'll give you these updates here, the ones that I have. Let's see here. Trump is now, looks like he was about 43 minutes ago. He held a round table on Wisconsin community safety in Kenosha amid ongoing protest over the police shooting of Jacob Blake. The president opened the round table by asking, quote, "Where's my Reince?" That was once a reference to Trump's first White House chief of staff, Reince Priebus, who is from Wisconsin. "Where's my Reince?" he said. Trump said his visit today was meant to show support for the people of Kenosha and the people of Wisconsin. Trump said, quote, "The state of Wisconsin has been very good to me." All right, moving on here. Trump then praised the, quote, "great people who serve as law enforcement officers," saying, quote, I'm not doing the Trump voice anymore. He just says, "We're all safe, and we're safe because of law enforcement, and we honor you." The president then called on Americans to, quote, "condemn the dangerous anti-police rhetoric whenever it arises." Ben, your thoughts there?
Well, I guess I don't know if Jacob Blake would agree with Donald Trump's pronouncement there. But so far, for Donald Trump, the rhetoric is that you just quoted is relatively mild. I thought he was going to come in strong for Kyle Rittenhouse. I thought he was going to go Brian Urlacher on us. And so far, he's held back. I still predict ultimately he will be calling Rittenhouse a patriot and at least tweeting out overtures to have him released from jail and with charges not filed against him. But so far, he seems to be holding back from that.
And, the week is early. It's Tuesday, so we got time. And finally here, this is about 9 minutes ago, officials in Wisconsin continue to stress that President Trump is not telling the truth when he says law enforcement in Kenosha has been federalized. Governor Evers deployed Wisconsin National Guard troops and got National Guard troops from other states. So...
Yeah, all right. We're going to have Eddie Armstrong coming on to talk about many of these issues in about an hour or so. We'll drop that at 7. Monroe Anderson will be here tomorrow. Mark Arena will be here. He's the Washington Post correspondent who did some of the went up to Kenosha. It was in Kenosha last week, reporting firsthand on what he saw. So we'll be talking about a lot of Kenosha news in the next 24 hours, too.
And we want to remind everybody to follow us on social media at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show. If you've yet to, go do it. Send us a like, share, review, whatever you want to do. Also, send us an email if you'd like, BennyJShow@gmail.com, BENNY, the letter J Show @gmail.com. I get those messages. We'll read them. I'll forward them to Ben. He'll read them. We may comment on them. Who knows? And you can call the Ben Joravsky Show. That's correct. You can call us. What's the number? 708-658-4788. That number again, 708-658-4788. We're not going to answer it. We're not going to be, hello, Ben Joravsky Show. Now you just leave us a voicemail, and there's a good chance we'll play your voicemail if you're not crazy or you watch your mouth. Oh, wait, what's that, Joe Biden?
Come on, man.
Okay.
Okay, all right, Joe, come on.
All right, my goodness. Oh, and by the way, you were talking about Rahm Emanuel earlier. He has something to say.
Take a chill pill, man.
Chill out, dude.
D, why don't you promote Carlos Ramirez Rosa interview we did this weekend? Really strong stuff. The David Ferris interview that was down. Ramana Hussein. A lot of good stuff that we dropped this weekend.
Well, I think you just did it, pal. Both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites, and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. And that interview we had with Troy LaRaviere was some kind of something. Go download that as well. Both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites, and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. I'm looking at you, live stream audience. Go download those shows as well. And yeah, we got a bonus interview coming up tonight. It's going to be posted at 7 o'clock, so be on the lookout for that as well. I mean, I've said it like 4 times, but I'll say it again. Both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites, and wherever else. Are you clipping your fingernails right now?
No, I'm writing this notes down for an interview.
Okay, and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts.
All right, I want to thank Maya once again. Outstanding job she did. I also want to thank the man, the myth, the legend, the pride and joy of Alton, Illinois, without whom the show would be possible. And as Maya will tell you, as Eddie Armstrong will tell you, and as Donald Trump, yes, as Donald Trump himself will tell you, back home in Alton, they call him Dennis. That's it. They call him Dennis. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Take a chill pill, man.
I won't just turn the car around. I'm going to shut it